You're on.
Hi, everybody. My name's Matt Fradd, and today I'm here to take your questions with Thrsdy, who's over there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Thrsdy. The camera is not focusing for some reason. There it is. The camera's in. Well,
Who fixes the camera guy's camera?
Well, so the problem is I can't manual focus my camera because I have to be sitting in a chair to manual focus it, so it's on auto, so it doesn't catch always. So, anyway.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. You definitely are blurry.
It's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
You know
now.
what it is? It's picking up the microphone.
Oh, I could do it on the mic. Yeah.
That's
a good point.
Anyway, g'day everybody. How's it going? Hope you're well. I'm loving life right now. Things are really good. Glory to Jesus Christ. We've had some amazing interviews recently, and we're putting some in the bank right now too. We've got some amazing interviews coming up. We've got an ex-Satanist coming on the show. Do you know that? I didn't tell you.
The number of things I find out live on air is frankly...
All right. So I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to let it be whatever. But I wrote to him because he reached out to me and I saw him on video. I'm like, okay, this guy's really great on video. And I said, okay, I need to know, were you like a Satanist and like you flirted with it for a weekend kind of way? Because I'm not interested in talking about your flirtation. No. He told me things he's done and they're all very awful. And then he came to Jesus Christ. Praise God.
So praise the Lord.
Yes, indeed. So we have a lot going on.
God is good.
Hey, you, looking at me in the camera right now. Look at me. You, yes, hi. Could you subscribe, please? It won't take any of your time. It'll take a little bit of time, but not much. Click subscribe, click the bell button. It'll make me feel better.
And when we get to 400,000 subscribers, Thrsdy gets a trophy.
Thrsdy gets a trophy. If you want Thrsdy to get a trophy, and if you don't want him to get a trophy, either way, just subscribe.
Please subscribe.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Going good. Hey, we got this today.
Show people.
So we got this. It's the DJI Pocket 2 Creator combo, which is a cool little piece of tech that I put a lot of research into deciding which one I wanted. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting to do man on the street content. So look out for that. I won't tell you where we're going to do our first shoot of it because I want it to be a surprise, because it's going to be mostly me shooting the man on the street not shooting, mostly me doing the content. And I want it to be a surprise when I show up where I'm showing up at. But we're looking forward to it. Matt and I think the ideas we have for the man on the street content is really good. Our first idea is Catholic trivia. And I think you and I both think this is going to be a really cool little piece of, so they're going to be TikToks, TikTok shorts. And so,
you looking at the chat?
Sorry, Kyle is in chat under the Council of Trent handle.
What?
Saying, what happens first? Does COT hit 100K or do we hit 400? I'm down for a race, if you are. But
yeah, if you want to lose, we can do a race if he wants.
How close are they?
If he wants to lose, I don't know.
So the first thing we're going to do is Catholic trivia. So I'm going to show up to a place. I'm not going to tell you where. And I'm going to just walk up to people and be like, hey, trivia question. And then put a microphone in
Who was the patron
face.
saint of what? Or name 3 of the 37 doctors of the church.
Yeah,
or
5. I think 5, because I think everybody can do 3. 3 is easy. There's like 3 recent ones everybody's heard of.
So that looks good. Good.
Hey, that's a nice comment. Thank you, Glaudoverse. That's a very nice comment. They said, Thrsdy, you make Pints and Matt better.
Okay.
Glad you joined the team.
All right. So
I was just saying thank you for a nice thing. One, I've never seen Thrsdy's face. I don't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it. I don't know if that's nice or mean. So we got AMA questions from locals though, right?
We do.
Let's go. I'm pumped about these.
Let's take a look. We've got a bunch of questions that have come in. mattfradd.locals.com. Has Thrsdy asked out Brett Cooper yet?
No, and I'm not gonna.
Okay. I heard you were interested in organizing a hunting trip with John Henry. Is that under the works? Under works. I still want to do that, but I haven't reached out to any companies yet. Hi, Matt. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned from podcasting from starting Pints to now? Is there anything you wish you could go back and change about earlier episodes? This is a wonderful question. We could maybe talk about podcasting in general. We could talk about tips for YouTubing, things like that if you're interested. But I think for me, I would give myself the advice that I don't think I would have been able to take at the time, which is basically the best advice somebody ever gave me for public speaking, and that's basically just be yourself. Be big, dorky, awkward you. Like, whatever you are, just be you. Don't pretend you know things you don't know. Don't try to seem more educated or sophisticated. Whatever. Just be yourself. That's the advice I would have given to myself at the beginning, which I think I tried to do. But there were definitely times where, you start a podcast and you start getting feedback real quick from people who can either be praising you or very critical of you. It's easy to get into that game where you start responding and reacting to nice comments and to critical comments. But really, I think what you want to do if you're going to do podcasting well is really try to just be yourself and actually say what you mean. And if anything, take advice from people who you trust and not the thousands of voices that are going to pile in from, online. I also think that your audience wants to grow with you. I think that's something I learned. If you just start out of the gate without a podcast and all of a sudden you've got all these beautiful cameras and beautiful lights and things like that, there's something to growing organically.
It feels artificial when a podcast starts from nothing and it's like perfectly produced.
And so why is that bad? Or is it
Why is it bad?
Yeah.
Or,
maybe it's not bad, but you said it feels artificial and that sounds like it's a criticism.
I just think it denotes that, like, it's when I see somebody who's like got 100, 200 subscribers or is like on episode 2 or 3 of a podcast and their studio is clearly worth like 40 to 50 grand. It's like, okay, so you have money somewhere that is not coming from the audience, which means that you're not tied to the audience in the way that I think the best podcasts are.
That. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Rogan's studio is the best podcast studio in the world, probably, right? But did it look that good during the first 100 episodes? No, it looked like crap. And there's something to be said for the fact that he's the biggest podcast in the world and he has the nicest studio because it feels fitting. But if you have like 10,000 subscribers, right, and your studio is worth, $100,000, then that communicates to the audience that there's somebody funding it or somebody driving it that isn't them.
So I agree with that, except when Joe Rogan started, they didn't have the kind of technology we have today, the kind of cameras and the lights. These things are significantly cheaper today than they were 10, 20 years ago, obviously. So sometimes isn't it possible that you would look at a setup and think, well, that's really expensive, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just gotten easier to do.
No, you can do some pretty good quality stuff with your phone, honestly. I mean,
but I love what you said there, like tying your podcast to your audience and depending on your audience to grow.
Like the thumbnail, for example, like the thumbnail for this live stream, I shot that on my phone with like 20 minutes. In like, not even 20 minutes, in like 2 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
I turned on a good light and I shot it on my phone, point and shooted it. You can get really good quality out of your cell phone now.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's how Kyle shoots, actually. I found out the other day.
Does he?
Kyle's channel. It looks really good, and he shoots it on his iPhone.
Good for him.
So,
is there anything I wish I could go back and change about earlier episodes? Not really, because it's all really part of the growing process, isn't it? You do your best, and then you realize, that wasn't that good, or I thought that was good, but it's not. So I don't think I'd go back and change things. Johnny6767G, thanks for being a local supporter, says, where have you visited in the USA so far and where would you like to visit? Here's something funny. First place in America I ever visited was Hawaii. That's just because in Australia you're always stopping by on places, so we got out. So I went to Hawaii like twice before I went to mainland USA. And then the first place, contiguous USA, was the Bronx. Isn't that funny?
It is interesting.
Like, welcome to the Bronx. And we had our tires slashed that night. The next place after that was Houston. So, like, not two gloriously gorgeous places in the United States. So I've visited pretty much everywhere. I've traveled a great deal and have spoken all over the country. There's a couple of places I haven't been to that I really want to go to. Wyoming and Montana. I haven't been to those places and I'd love to.
You've been to Colorado?
Yeah. Oh, a ton of times, yeah.
Yeah. I really like the Rockies. I want to go to Yellowstone. That's kind of near Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Yellowstone specifically. Like, I'm not super interested in Montana, but I really want to go to Yellowstone.
I haven't been to Alaska either. I hear that's glorious.
Oh yeah, I want to see the Northern Lights someday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like travel, but there are certain destinations that I like have in my head that I would like be okay with traveling to get to, because I feel like they'd be cool enough. You know what I mean?
I totally know. Yeah.
Because I don't like flying and I don't like driving, but like there are places where it's like, I want to see that someday. You know what I mean? Like I rock climb, not currently because there's not a gym close to us, but for years I've rock climbed and I really love it. And so one of the things I want to do someday is go to Yellowstone and do some climbing on El Cap, you know? Yeah.
Colin Carr says, what was the first ever public speaking gig you ever had and how did it go? So this is a great question, and it actually brought up a memory that I hadn't thought about for quite a while. I mean, the first speaking engagement that I'd done was probably to like confirmation groups and things like that. But as far as the first kind of serious speaking engagement, here's what happened. I was living in Ottawa, Canada at the time. My wife and I, family, technically we were living beneath the poverty line. You know, we were with a Catholic group that really couldn't afford to pay us at all, and so we were really struggling. And a group in, I want to say Kansas, invited me to come and give a breakout. I think it was a few $100 plus flight tickets. I was really excited about doing that, to speak first of all, and then also just to make a bit of money. And so Jason Everett was going to be giving the main address. So I drove to the airport, flew to Toronto, and I get because I was living in Canada, Ottawa, and I get a text saying that Jason can't make it and they'd like me to give the keynote. And I was horrified. That it wasn't like, oh yeah. I was like, no, you don't understand. Jason's a really, really good speaker and I'm me. So I tried to get out of it, and they thought, well, hang on, there might be a way he can still get here. We'll let you know. And then I arrived. It was like, no, sorry, we'd like you to give the talk. And what was hard about that is so many of the people who came for Jason because he'd been there before. So there was like 3,000 or 4,000, maybe that's too many, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 teens there. And they were waiting for Jason. And so the idea that knucklehead me, is going to get up and speak to these people when they're waiting for Jason, who's a much better speaker than I was really nervous about that. And you know who Mark Houck is? That's the fellow the SWAT team came in because he was at that abortion.
Oh, I've heard of him. Yeah, I think I saw that video once.
So Mark Houck was there, and I know Mark, and he was kind enough to pray with me, and just that the Lord would do good things. And the talk went really, really well. It was extremely well received. So that was the first speaking engagement I ever, real engagement I ever gave. Now, here's the most embarrassing. I got a couple of embarrassing stories of giving talks.
Real quick, can you push your laptop lid back just a little?
Like to me?
No, away from you. Right there.
Is that good?
Yeah, sorry. It's just barely the top of it was catching enough that like you could see a silver bar on the screen, and it was
no worries. So here's my two embarrassing speaking stories. I once was asked to give a talk to a youth group, and it was in an old gymnasium. And there's probably like 300 teens in front of me, and I got to give a talk on sex, right? And so whenever I have to give a talk on chastity or pornography, I always like to lower the lights a little so people don't feel like they're on an operating table, you know, in the hospital. And so I'm like, can we lower the lights before I get up there? Because it was so bright, those very bright fluoro.
The UFO lights, the saucer lights?
Yeah, it was an old building, so I don't know if it was saucer lights or if they were just old school fluoros, but...
Okay.
So I get up there and I reminded the person as I'm about to pray to lead my talk. I'm like, hey, could you just make sure to turn the light off? So I make the sign of the cross and I start to pray, and all of the lights go out entirely. And I'm like, oh, no, just put them back on. And so they put them back on, and I could tell that they were warming up. And then I got to give a talk on porn or sex or whatever it was. But the lights took about 15 minutes to become reasonable, because it was one of these old things. And I didn't know how quickly they would turn on. So I didn't want to be like, okay, well, let's pause and come back in 15 minutes when the lights are on. So it was just me giving a sex talk in the dark. That was one of the most awkward things. Here's the second most awkward thing. I had this talk called the Man Talk, and at the end, I would share 5 rules that every man needs to break, which I thought was kind of nice and pithy. And you think is totally bad.
No, sorry. I'm reading chat.
So anyway, 5 rules every man. You gotta look at me. We gotta do this thing.
I apologize. Chat is being ridiculous.
5 rules every man must break. And I forgot the 5th one. So as I'm speaking and trying to encourage these men and I'm giving them these 4 rules, I realize as I'm on the 4th rule, you don't remember what the 5th one is, dude. And I thought, what am I going to do? I know what I'll do. I'll just wrap it up and hope no one will notice, you know. It's like, and then I'll come to a close and let's say the sign of the cross here and we'll say a prayer. So I did that. You still looking at the chat?
Nope.
Good.
I'm looking at me.
Okay. And as I was making the sign of the cross, someone goes, "What's the last one?" Oh, sorry, what? You said there were 5. What's the last one? Yeah. And at that point, I could have said, I actually forget. But that felt too embarrassing to handle. So here's what I did Thursday. I went, just give me 1 second. I walked off stage, got my bag, pulled my laptop out of my bag because my talk was written on the laptop, thinking I could just quickly pull it up, but the laptop was off. So now I have to turn it on and wait there in front of these people, being like, "Oh, so sorry, this is kind of awkward." Oh, gosh, whack a doozy. And then I finally found it, and it was just super anticlimactic, and that was also embarrassing. Are you looking at yourself or the chat?
Me.
All right.
I just, I don't
when you're
always
this good
look
looking,
super great, okay? Sometimes you look
in the mirror and you think, how am I still single? Sometimes you look in the mirror and you think, I got to tell my wife I love her.
The duality of man.
Let's see. If you were a pirate, what would be carved on the front of your ship? Any carving? I presume it's any. Doesn't matter
like
how
the big
difficult or intricate
masthead
it is.
thing. I don't know. I feel like the traditional mermaid is a good look.
I would probably put like an icon of the Theotokos holding Christ.
I mean, yeah, but you're a pirate. It feels weird.
All right. How about Mary's foot trampling a snake?
Okay, I like that.
Is that better?
Yeah, I like that.
Luke says, should bike lanes in cities be outlawed?
No.
The only answer is yes, he says. The cities always find a way to put them in the worst possible place. I know you have an opinion on this. Here's my opinion. Absolutely not. I think we should give preference to people who are walking and riding bikes like human beings and not give pride of place to gigantic engined machines.
Yes, I have a rant on cars, but I won't do it now.
Thank you.
No, we should give precedence to bicycles. We should figure out, we should do the opposite, actually. Cities should figure out what the federal minimum that a road needs to have space for 2 lanes.
Yeah.
And then split the rest between bikes and cars to discourage people from driving, especially in city centers where cars break up the flow of the city and make community harder to grow. And I'm not going to do the rant, but my general idea is that if you need to drive to get to the city center, that's fine, but the parking should be outlying, and then people should walk into the middle, and the places where life is happening together should be absent of the machines.
Love it. Mark, maybe he's trying to do like an Aussie accent. He says, is Bluey, have you seen Bluey?
Yeah.
I haven't. Is Bluey representative of traditional Australian culture, for example, pass the parcel at birthday parties? I haven't watched Bluey, but certainly Pass the Parcel is a classic at Australian birthday parties.
Pass the
Do
parcel.
you know what that is?
No.
Oh, come on. So you get a present. You don't know what it is, but it's been wrapped for you. And then you pass it around the circle. And whenever the music stops, that person gets to unwrap it, and that's their gift.
Cool.
It's kind of fun, hey? It's like musical chairs, but it doesn't induce tremendous anxiety. Do you know what musical chairs is?
Of course I know.
I didn't. Well, you didn't know what.
Is.
I didn't know. Okay. So I don't know what. Yeah, that's all I know about Bluey.
Bluey's cool. I liked it. Some friends made me watch it. A bunch of 20-somethings all watched. There was a party at my house, and they were like, let's watch something, because we were all tired. And so I was like, yeah, let's watch something. What do you guys want to watch? And they were like, let's watch Bluey. And I was like, I don't watch a children's cartoon.
Yeah.
We're all in our 20s. And they're like, no, let's watch Bluey. And everybody wanted to watch Bluey. So I put Bluey on. It was good. I liked it.
Is it really?
Yeah, I liked it. I think you would like it.
Huh.
It's probably too advanced for your kids, but you should watch some of it. A lot of it's free on YouTube. You should watch some of it so you can recommend it more full-throatedly to the audience. There we go. I said the words.
Yes. Okay. Hey, speaking of television and not watching it, if you're a fella who wants to take your spiritual life to the next level, click the link in the description, exodus90.com/Matt, and consider joining St. Michael's Lent. St. Michael's Lent starts on the Assumption of the Theotokos, and it goes all the way through to the Feast of St. Michael. And so it's not like a 90-day thing like Exodus 90 usually is. What?
Laura's in the chat.
Hi, Laura.
Hello.com/Matt.
Yeah. No, but quickly. No, but wrong advertiser. Exodus90.com/Matt. If you want to take your spiritual life to the next level, if you want to pray with a group of guys, if you want to undertake certain disciplines to become a better person, go check it out. I think you'd really enjoy it. They've got an amazing app that leads you through daily scriptures throughout this journey. St. Michael's Lent is actually like a forgotten tradition, or an almost forgotten tradition in the Catholic Church. But this is something that St. Francis of Assisi would do with his followers. So if you're getting a bit lackadaisy throughout the summer months and you want to kind of ramp things up again, please go to exodus90.com/Matt and just sign up there. And you can find a couple of guys to do this with, and I think you'll really benefit from it. Good. If you had to pick one, which Protestant denomination is your favorite?
Anglicans.
Yeah, I'd probably say a kind of Calvin Robinson Anglican.
Yeah. If I had to be Protestant, I'd move to England and be a part of Calvin Robinson's congregation.
So I'm embarrassed to put these on because I only ever bought these because they were like really cheap at a bookstore. They were never meant to be worn in public, but shut up, how dare you judge me? But I can't read, it's that bad.
I'm reading Laura's comments there.
What's she saying?
She goes,
she might know my
I was
glasses.
thinking about typing, but then I was worried people would she said basically that she was thinking about chatting, and then she was worried that people would think she was ignoring her kids. And then Kyle said that everybody in the chat's goofing off in some form. And then she said, actually, Laura's not ignoring me. This is Trent. Ask me anything. And then she said, JK, please don't ask me any hard questions. I don't know anything because this is Laura. Trent is smarter than me. So I don't know if it's Trent or Laura.
It's Laura. Yeah, there's no way Trent would have done that. April Janae says, wait, I changed my question. Okay, let's see. In this scenario, you're locked. I got to do it. You're locked in a room full of spiders for X amount of time. Would you rather have the lights on or off? What? Obviously on.
I'm sorry. Why am I in the room full of spiders?
You're missing the point.
Okay.
If you're in a room full of spiders for X amount of time, would you rather the lights on or off? Obviously on.
On.
So you can kill them.
What is full?
Yeah, full. That's a tricky word there.
Because if it's full, like so full that like I'm going to be feeling them touching me constantly, like I'm like bathed in spiders, maybe not seeing it is better.
Yeah, could you imagine laying in a bath full of cockroaches?
Can we move on, please?
Would you rather lay in a bath full of cockroaches? We can. Or eat one mouse.
I will walk out.
That's a good one, that one.
And leave the stream on.
Oh. Double or single stuff Oreos? I don't.
Double.
Okay. Why would anyone say single?
I don't know.
More of that goodness.
Double, I don't know why single even exists, because it's not even like double is better because there's more cream and the cream is the best part. Like the cookie is good, but double is the correct ratio of cream to cookie. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I do. First time I ever had Oreos was in Canada. I was about 19, Net Ministries of Canada, and loved them. Okay, let's see. This person gave us a super chat. I can't say their name. That's difficult. But thank you so much for the super chat. It's very generous of you. Thrsdy, would you like help setting your mic's noise gate? It keeps cutting you off in almost every video.
So the problem
Yes, we do want help.
Yeah, I do need help.
Please write to us.
Yes, write to me because I'm self-taught and an amateur actually. But the main problem is we need a cloud lifter for this microphone because we don't have a cloud lifter for this microphone. So
I think maybe you should stop speaking this much then if it keeps getting clipped off.
It's not.
How annoying is it, chat?
It's not unlistenable.
Steven says, do you like any aromatic pipe tobacco blends? Also, you should smoke some Mac Baron HH Rustica on air and try not to get loopy. I prefer cigars to pipes, but I do prefer, generally speaking, the smell of pipe tobacco to cigar tobacco. I like Peterson blends. There's also, I think it might be by Peterson, it's called Nightcap. I like that one.
Yeah, Nightcap's good.
I feel like I've definitely had Mac Baron, but I don't know if I've had HH.
I like straight Virginias.
Wow, you're so cool. Isn't that the like hardcore stuff?
Not hardcore. I mean, it depends on what you get, but like MV1000 is a good one. HG 400 is a good one. Yeah.
Good. In light of Vegemite, what do you miss about Australia? I miss my childhood. I think that's what struck me. I'm going to Australia in December to speak. I'll be in Sydney. I'll be in Adelaide. And, you get nostalgic for home. And as you get older, you realize that home isn't there anymore. It's just people on cell phones. It's just like here, in a way. I miss the sense of humor. I think there's an Australian sense of humor that I really miss. There's an amazing comedy duo. I won't advocate for everything that they say because some of it's quite rude. But they're called Leno and Woodley. And tell me in the chat if you've heard of these. Adventures of Leno and Woodley was an old show they did. You can barely find it anywhere. I have the DVDs, and my kids will watch it with me, and it is absolutely fantastic. So I miss Australian sense of humor, I guess.
Also, I just turned the noise gate off too, so hopefully that helps.
This fella, PH Durr, what do I say when I can't read their name? Just this person, or do I have to try every time to say their name? It's not even a name. PH Durr L 1950.
PhD.
This person says,
PhD Earl 1950.
Thank you for all you do. I am a college senior who will be reading Brothers K for the first time in my seniors honors class this fall. Any advice for first-time readers? And how do I guard against people twisting the text to fit their perhaps progressive agendas? I don't know much about the story at all. All right, so I've got a couple of things I'd say about the brothers. So in some translations, it'll share with you in the beginning how Russian names are used. So if you are addressing somebody that you don't know, you might address them differently if they're a family member or a close friend. And consequently, the names like Alyosha could be like Alesky or Alexei or something like that. And if you don't know that, then when you read it, you sometimes think, oh, is this a different person? Who is this person? Where did they come from? And that can be quite confusing. And so what I would do is I would always read one name as I read through it. So I would say Alyosha, even if it said something different. I would say Dmitry, even if it said something different. That would be one thing to kind of keep in mind is the names. The second thing I would remind you is the Brothers Karamazov was written in serial form for a Russian newspaper. And so the chapters are quite short, like 3 or 4 or 5 pages, maybe more. It's not like The Lord of the Rings where it takes like 30 or 40 minutes to read a chapter. So recognize that you can eat it in bite-sized chunks, as it were, read it in bite-sized chunks, whatever, to miss analogies. And to realize that because it was written in serial form, it usually ends on something of a cliffhanger. Or if not a cliffhanger, the individual chapter is interesting in and of its own right. So to really appreciate the Brothers Karamazov, you don't have to read it from start to end, which you should do, of course, but that's not the only way to appreciate it. You can just take any chapter and read it, and yes, one follows from the other, but it's very interesting the whole way through. So just enjoy it. As far as guard against people twisting the text, I don't know. There's so many ways you could do that because it's such a mammoth book, so I would need specifics, I suppose. Anyone in the chat interesting?
We got a couple supers.
God bless them.
So this one, the professor, I have a career in college academics. How do you hold your values at this volatile time? How do you speak up, encourage, and faith on issues that are intertwined with faith, like life and identity?
And he's a professor at a university, probably a secular.
A career in college academics, so I'm assuming he's a professor. Yeah.
I don't envy you. I wouldn't pretend what it's like to be in your shoes. I don't know the particulars of your situation, but at some point we have to not lie, and that and so sometimes we just have to say what we know to be true and take the consequences. Maybe. What do you think?
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's probably got kids. I don't know what it's like. I don't mean to tell him to kamikaze his career. But, yeah. Hello, says Manny X. Thanks for the super chat. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Is there a difference between Catholics in the USA, Catholics in Latin America, theologically? No, I mean, yes and no. There can be different emphases on aspects of Catholic theology, but it has to be within the bounds of orthodoxy. So there can be emphases, is that the plural? Placed on certain things, and you might find an emphasis placed in one part of the world that you don't find placed in another, and that might have to do with a whole myriad of reasons. like the particular environment the Catholic finds themselves in, for example. But one is not able to hold a heterodox theological view and say, well, I'm a Mexican Catholic. Like that's not, I mean, the whole point of being Catholic is we share the one faith, even though it might be expressed differently, I would say. I want you to tell me about this video game. I really want to play it.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I've been playing this game. It's called Shadows of Doubt. And I'd really recommend it to anybody. I think it's in early access right now, so there's a couple of glitches and bugs, but the game is perfectly playable currently, and I want more people to play it now so that they can have money to like finish production on it and make it even better. So Shadows of Doubt is a stealth mystery game, but it's procedurally generated. And so what procedural generation means, for those who don't know, is when you load up a new game, and you can load a new game as often as you want, you put in, it basically it generates a random string of characters, and then it puts that into an engine that generates the world you're going to play in. And so the world is different every time, like how Minecraft generates a different world every time.
Nice.
So it generates a different city for you to solve mysteries in every single time.
Are they always murders?
And they're always murders.
And are the murders generated? I mean,
the murders are procedurally generated.
How many are there then?
I theoretically infinite, I think.
Wow.
Because you can have just anybody in the city could be your victim. Anybody in the city could be your murderer. And so the game mechanics are like, just for an early access game that's only like $16, frankly, shockingly and just incredibly impressively well built out. Like some of the ideas they had that, like, I don't know how this would have occurred to them to do some of these things, but the game wouldn't feel as good without some of these things. Like my favorite example is, so every apartment in the city has a phone in it. Okay. Now you can go to the phone. Okay. And then call the last number that, like, let's say you find a body in an apartment. Okay. You go to the phone, you call the last number that called them. Right. And then you get that number. Okay. And then you can go to the basement of the apartment building, break into the basement of the apartment building, and then pick the lock on the telephone box for the building and read the phone records, and it'll tell you where a call came from at what time. So then you can say, this call came in 10 minutes before the estimated time of death of this murder victim, and it was from this apartment. And then you can go there, and then you can use, there's a computer in the city hall in every single world where you can read the records of all of the citizens. And so you can say, like, okay, so this apartment belongs to this person. They called my victim 10 minutes beforehand. And then you can go check their apartment, and then you can check on them. And then you can go to their workplace and check their workplace. And then you can like hack their computer and
Come on. That sounds really complicated.
Is
it pretty
sounds
intuitive?
Complicated, but it's intuitive and easy to pick up. And the other thing they did that makes it really cool and very easy to keep track of is, one of the main screens that you spend a lot of time on playing is your evidence board. And so you pin pieces of evidence to your board, and then you link them with thread. And so you can so it's not like you have to like mentally keep track of everything, because you can like just say like, oh, well, that's interesting. Does that relate to anything I already have? And then you go to your evidence board, you pin the new piece of evidence, and you see like, oh, well, this is connected to this other thing. And there's CCTV cameras you can hack and look at the CCTV camera. So we're playing one the other night, and the call to my victim came in from a street phone, from a payphone on the street. And I looked around and I saw there was a CCTV camera pointed at this payphone. So then I hacked the CCTV camera and saw an individual, got a face for the person who called my murder victim 10 minutes before. Like the person died 10 minutes before this phone call came in. Come on. And here's the face of the person that called them from a payphone, right? Yeah. And then I go, and then you can start to like pair that up with names, and eventually you get like.
So how many of these have you solved versus how many are you like, I have no idea?
I have not solved any of them, and I'm still like.
So is it so frustrating that you think you're going to stop?
No. It's one of those things where it's like infinitely fascinating because there's so many different avenues to check, right? Like the other thing it does really well is that it doesn't pay off every single lead. So some of the leads are dead ends, which then like drives you to like be like, okay, well, I didn't get anything. Why didn't I get anything there? Like, okay, well, I've got this other lead. I guess I'll go back and check this. And so it's like, got this infinite replayability factor. And like, Thursday is really bad at it. I watched him. I'm really bad at it, to be fair. But I love it. I think Shadows of Doubt is...
I can't wait to play it.
It's like $17 on Steam for anybody who has Steam or like a computer that can play any like basic level of game. Also the art style, real quick, before we...
Yeah, what is it? Looks like
so it's,
Minecraft /
It's voxels. So it's voxels stands for volume pixels, basically. It's it's a portmanteau between volume and pixels. So it looks like an 8-bit game in 3D.
Okay.
Which is so cool. And it's really well, it's very beautiful. If you like kind of pseudo retro styling. I think it's an incredibly underrated game that nobody seems to have ever heard of for some reason that I just stumbled across one day. Yeah. So if you enjoy video games at all, you should go play Shadows of Doubt, give it a shot. Yeah, I think you guys will love it.
James Coffey says, my wife and I are expecting our first child boy. By the way, thanks for the super chat. In 2 months, any advice for raising a faithful son in this messed up world? Any fatherhood advice? You know, when you're on an airplane and they say, like, use the oxygen before applying it to your children, I think something like that would be my advice. Like, find yourself a place, a Catholic community, wherever you are, and plug into that. I think being close to a parish, being close to friends, if not close to family would be ideal, of course, so that you're kind of taken care of. Because being a father is difficult and it is stressful at times, especially when you're afraid. I think fear is not at all a helpful thing for fathers often, because it can cripple us and make us more anxious than we need to be. But having people in our lives who love us, who walk the journey with us, can really help. So honestly, the thing I would say is, like, find the environment to raise your beautiful little family as best as you can and go there. There's so much more that could be said, but that would be the advice I gave myself, because I don't think I would have heard the advice that old Matt Fradd would give to young Matt Fradd. So I'm like, all right, whatever. He's not going to listen to any of this. He thinks he knows it all already. So I'm just going to tell him, you need right now to plug into a Catholic community, wherever that is. I mean, there's great Catholic communities all over the country, but I'd find one and plug into it. What do I mean by Catholic community? I guess people who are living an intentional Catholic life. Like if I had to move right now, let's say I had to move, I would find a traditional parish somewhere. So probably like an Eastern Catholic parish. And I would set myself up really close to that in an area that was also, I don't know, close to other people that I knew. I mean, Steubenville's a really great place because a lot of us are doing that here, and one side of town to the other is an 8-minute drive, which means we're all pretty close to each other. I think Ave Maria, I think Christendom College has something similar. There's a lot of places that are trying to do something like this, so that would be my advice.
There was one right above that I think you missed.
Know any good Catholic or non-Catholic sci-fi books?
Sci-fi is my...
That's your area.
Sci-fi is my thing, man. I think everybody should read Dune, and everybody should read A Canticle for Leibowitz. Those are both sci-fi. Canticle for Leibowitz is Catholic. And then it's less sci-fi, but it is in a sci-fi-ish vein, is Lord of the World. That's Pope Francis's favorite book. But Lord of the World is also an excellent novel. And then if you're looking for something that's more niche, I think Larry Niven has a lot of good stuff. My favorite Larry Niven novel is Ringworld. So
cool. Yeah. I'd like to get to some local questions because we have quite a few here.
Yeah, we have a lot of supers still coming in too.
Bless you. Non-denominational Protestant here and have been investigating the Catholic Church for a while. This is one of my local supporters. Thank you so much. I have some questions regarding the infallibility of magisterium that seems to be difficult to find answers to. Where is the best place to bring them so I can get answers? I would try Catholic.com, which is the website for Catholic answers. There's a search bar, type in your issues, and you'll probably find a lot of great content. Articles, audio, video, that would be what I recommend. Michael Tosi says, thoughts on pre-marital hand-holding, modernist invention or traditional practice, recent controversy in the Discord as people divided. Weird.
Was it in this? I don't know if it was in Pints. There was one in New Polity Discord. I
think it's appropriate that an intimate relationship between like a romantic relationship should progress incrementally. until marriage. It doesn't seem natural to me to say that you should be dating somebody without holding their hand or anything like that. So it seems to me like appropriate that, a first date's going to look different to a date, 2 months later or once you're engaged.
Or with your wife.
So yes, I'm completely for hand holding.
Yeah.
Wow, man, Catholics have too much time on their hands, I guess.
There was a big argument that I don't know if it was in the Pints one. It was in the New Polity one. I don't think so.
Hey, Matt, I am 16 and currently living in Ireland. I just joined your locals recently. Thank you so much. As a supporter, and I'm loving being here. I was wondering if you knew anything, had experiences with or about the Order of Malta, as I was planning on joining it as a volunteer to its ambulance corps in Ireland soon. I know they have professed members that have worked in the order for a long time. Thanks for the stream and God bless. Thank you so much, Michael, for becoming a local supporter. I really appreciate it. I don't have anything to say on this. I've heard good things, but I don't know enough about the Order of Malta to give any kind of answer. So I suppose I would say look into them, look into their website, ask faithful Catholics about it, and maybe base it on that. Blue Rose Lion says, please come to Montana. You should see Glacier National Park. Watch for bears. Thank you so much. That's right. Josh Castro says, if the Pints team had to fight the Council of Trent team in physical alteration, how would it go
Altercation?
down? Sorry, altercation. Well, I'll tell you right now that Trent would beat the crap out of me.
Yeah, and Kyle has weight on me.
Yeah, so we'd be screwed.
So,
although we might have an advantage.
But
who knows?
Kyle's also a vet. Thank you for your service, Kyle. So,
no, we'd be screwed. Christian Medor says, how long do you think you can grow your beard before you lose it and shave it off? What is your personal record? That's a great question, Christian, especially from a man who's got such a delicious beard as yours. Not delicious, wrong word.
That was
so bad. Glorious. Is that better? Manly. I don't know. My record is, I don't know, go to Google and type in Matt Fradd big beard or something like that. I grew it a while ago, and I like having a beard. I'll try to at least hold off till the end of August. How about that? And you can make fun of me when I shave it prior to then. Haley Casson says, when will you have Kimberly Hahn on the show? That's a great question, Haley. I would love to have Kimberly on, and I might reach out to her because of this question.
She's nice. I like her.
Kimberly's so cool. She's a lion. She's beautiful and good, and she's got a lot of wisdom too.
She is. Yeah.
Dylan Schweitzer says, I recently decided to become Catholic. Do you have any advice on how to tell my Protestant friends whom have grievances with the Catholic Church that I'm becoming Catholic? Yeah, well, certainly you don't owe an explanation to everybody or anybody for that matter. But you might, if you get into a conversation with them, you might say something to the effect of, I felt like Catholicism I feel like it's the fullness of Christianity. And so as I'm becoming Catholic, or when I became Catholic, I didn't feel like I was shedding my Protestantism. I thought I was coming into a larger universe, and that this to me seemed like the way to be faithful to Jesus Christ. I've learned, and then I think extol the goodness of your Protestant upbringing where you can, so they don't feel condemned or something like that. And
that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, because people do feel threatened by that. But like, and I don't even know if you need to be overt about trying to convert them. I think that's kind of gross. People have a radar for that when they feel like you're trying to pull them in a subtle way. I think it's better in the beginning. It's like, yeah, I'm Catholic, and let me share with you the goodness and beauty of Catholicism, and not expect them to agree with you, and be okay with that. And that will, I think, they'll feel less threatened by you, and then they might be open to further conversations.
We just got a chat. It's not super, but it is a good question, and I think we should address it.
All right.
Thoughts on attending my divorced mother's, she's Protestant, remarriage to a non-Catholic widower. I'm leaning towards not attending. If you think I should not attend, how should I handle that? These things get very deep very quickly, very intricate very quickly. I would recommend two things. Jim Blackburn wrote a book on marriage, divorce, and annulments, which you can find over at Catholic.com that you might be interested in finding. Also, Catholic.com, maybe type in going to a non-Catholic wedding or something like that. That might begin to answer your question. The second thing I would do is ask your parish priest about this. All right, so that's my caveat. But I will kind of give you general principles. If somebody has been actually married,
then they are actually married. And so the divorce is just a fiction. They're still married. And so to then, quote unquote, marry somebody else is, again, if they are actually married in the first place, is again, it's a fiction that you don't want to participate in. You don't want to give credence to, I think. Not in a judgmental way, not because you want to make them feel bad, but just because you don't want your presence to say, I agree with you that this thing is what you think it is, And that's going to be very difficult, but that would be my thought. But again, I would say follow up with Catholic.com and your parish priest, because I don't know all the ins and outs of the situation.
I don't know if it was on Pints, but I did hear on another Catholic podcast a good point that I think is worth mentioning here, that not attending a family member's wedding is a cutoff. Not something that is gotten over easily. It takes probably years. So if you
as somebody who has done that, very close, I'll just say that, family member, it was a tough decision to make, very tough.
Yeah, I think it will take years to get past it, probably.
But I would also say, there is a big difference between taking an official role in the ceremony and standing up the back and not actually participating in it, but being there for moral support. And I'm not sure that I would condemn that or say that that's wrong, but it's something to think about. If you do decide not to go, maybe writing a letter to your mum so that you can fully express yourself in an articulate way without being interrupted or without her having to kind of navigate through her emotions and your emotions as you share this. That could be a helpful thing too. Yeah, and it's got to be tough. And getting advice from your children, that's just always tough. John says, Matt, you ever think about coming back to see Ireland? Also, what's your favourite memory about the place? Yeah, I would like to go back to Ireland. My wife and I lived in Donegal in the Gaeltacht up in Gidor. And so, it was a very, very interesting time of our lives. What do I miss about it? My favorite memories about it. I think it was just like sitting in a cold cabin, drinking copious amounts of Black Lion's tea and eating way too many biscuits. I enjoyed that. And just going to a good Irish pub with friends and having a pint of Guinness over there is just unlike anything you get here in the States. So I guess I miss those sorts of things.
Do you want to answer the Taylor Swift question?
I didn't see it.
In the supers?
What did they say?
Oh, you're not looking. I'm sorry. I thought you were looking at the pages, the viewer activity page, but you're looking at the actual chat. Let me read the older chat.
Oh, here it is. Thoughts on Taylor Swift. Lots of Christian peeps are calling her demonic. Is there value in her music, in your opinion? Can you like someone's music without aligning with beliefs of the artist? Obviously, that's true. I mean,
but I think there is a line.
Yeah.
Like Rob Zombie.
I used to listen to him in high school.
Yeah, but he's actually a Satanist.
Yeah.
So there's a line. I don't know anything about the Taylor Swift thing, so I don't want to comment on it.
Yeah, if someone's coming out as a full-on Satanist, it would be very good for you not to listen to them, I would say.
There's a line. It's up to your discernment where it is, but there is a line where you shouldn't be. Somebody said Clayton Brown.
Yeah, if you guys ever are out around Dallas, Texas, I'd be glad to take you out on the range. Thank you so much.
I'm going shooting tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you owned a gun.
Me neither.
Someone just said delicious beards. New Pints with Aquinas t-shirt. I'm all about that. I think that's good.
Yeah, we do. We should. I'm going to say it again on stream to pressure you into this.
Mm-hmm.
Pints Hawaiian shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And I did suggest a designer for it to you off stream, so I think we should consider that.
Okay. I'm open to it.
Yeah. Pints Hawaiian shirts?
Pints Hawaiian shirts. Sounds good. Kelly says, hey guys, thanks for all you do. Matt, were you planning on taking August off this year? If so, what changed your mind? I vaguely remember you mentioning since you went down to Guatemala earlier this year that you weren't going to, but I thought I heard you later say that you would. Anywho, glad you're here. Yeah, that's a good question. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I've taken the entirety of August away from the internet. However, this year, due to some health problems in our family, we had to go down somewhere warmer, and that felt like quite a vacation, even though I didn't really want it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be working, but we had to be out of the cold. That and other reasons have led me to decide not to go offline this August, but it's something I look forward to compensating. Maybe early next year. Maybe I'll do something like January next year or something like that. But thank you. Okay, so this one says, keep anonymous. For Thursday, feel free to not answer if uncomfortable with the question. Where does the America First movement go wrong in their ideology? Been listening to some talks from people in the camp and seems appealing, but I am to be cautious.
I'm willing to answer this. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are Thursday's opinions.
These are Thursday's opinions. Let me take Matt off the screen, actually. That way you don't get paired with me if I get in trouble for this. I have a problem with the idea of any ideology that is not... I have a problem with ideology. I think ideology in of itself is a claim to be an exhaustive explanation of reality. And the only exhaustive explanation of reality is Catholicism. And one of these main ideologies of the 20th century is nationalism. And if what you mean by nationalism is merely people in charge of a nation should value their nation more than others, that's fine. That's a good thing. But that is not what nationalism has historically meant. Historically, nationalism has meant that the nation is the core grouping of human beings. And this is in contrast to the church's teaching that it's the family. And also, historically, nationalism has been used to universalize smaller communities and homogenize them artificially. And so my problem with nationalism, ironically, is that I don't think it goes far enough when saying that the local should be the primary source. I would call myself a localist probably more. And my separation from America First at a core level is that it is nationalist in a way that it values America in a way that I don't think is proper for any nation or political entity to be valued, a political or legal entity to be valued. And yeah, that's just the base level. I could go on about it and break it down more, but I think that's probably enough.
My LT1 super chat, thank you. Have you ever visited Bardstown? It's the bourbon capital of the world and the Catholic capital of Kentucky. There's also a Trappist monastery nearby. I haven't, but I would love to. It sounds amazing. Rank says, do you watch swimming? I've heard swimming is big in Australia. Yeah, swimming is big in Australia, but I'm not that interested in watching it, to be honest. Christopher Craig says, Protestant, but new to Christianity. I was reading on the Sacred Heart, and I was curious how a saint's mystical vision or experience are different from the revelations of Mormonism. Thanks for everything. Yeah, okay, so that's a good question. So we have this distinction in Catholic theology between private revelation and public revelation. So public revelation is that which was taught by Christ and the apostles, and since the death of the last apostle, public revelation has ceased. It is only public revelation that we have to submit to in order to be saved as Catholics. Private revelation is something that, let's say Christ can reveal to a soul for their good or the good of a country or a community, and that can be believed, but a Catholic isn't obliged to believe private revelation, such as Our Lady's appearances at Fatima or the Sacred Heart visions given to St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, for example, but they are obliged to believe things like the sacrament of confession or the existence of the priesthood or the reality of the Eucharist. These sorts of things were revealed. So that would be the difference, whereas in Mormonism, what's revealed through the prophet is, according to them, direct revelation from God, and therefore, presumably, whatever is revealed in Mormonism through the prophet is akin to public revelation, how we would understand it within Catholicism.
Somebody asked about what your opinion on World Youth Day is. And I think it's really in the news, so maybe we should just address it and make it a clip, because I think it'd be a good clip. Sure. So what do you think about...
My opinion about World Youth Day. It's difficult for me to be objective about what good is being done in World Youth Day because my conversion took place at World Youth Day in Rome in the year 2000. I went as an angsty, agnostic kid who thought Christianity was for people who were afraid of death and just liked the idea of there being, I don't know, some sugar daddy up in the clouds who's going to give you a theme park if you would just stop masturbating or something like that. I once made that joke at a Legatus talk.
I don't know what that is.
It's like an old person, like a wealthy business person's group, but they were all old. So there's a lot of old women and old men. And I said that thing about give you a theme park in the clouds if you just stop masturbating, and no one laughed. And my wife was cringing heavily in the corner.
I think it's a good joke. I just didn't laugh because I...
But my opinion of World Youth Day is...
Yeah.
It was the way in which I was exposed to many good things. So I have no doubt that there is much good taking place at World Youth Day. I mean, the Holy Father is there, Holy Mass is being celebrated, people are being exposed to the universality of the church. They're encountering other Catholics their own age, which was a big deal for me because I grew up in a small country town in South Australia and didn't know any Catholics my age. So I was shocked to meet them. They were like unicorns to me. I couldn't believe there were so many unicorns. That said, just from what I'm seeing online, I don't mean to be overly critical, but it seems like Holy Mass and other things are being celebrated in a way that seems quite irreverent. At least that's my take from the little that I've seen. And so that would be problematic, I suppose. I wouldn't want to see anything like that taking place. I don't know. That's it. I can see people being rather cynical about World Youth Day and saying, these people are only going over there to party or see another country or hook up. That is exactly why I went to World Youth Day when I was 17. And I think the Lord stoops to conquer, and so maybe he sees those desires, but he works with us. And at least in my case, even though I went there for those reasons, what I encountered was Catholics who weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but who were trying to love Jesus and who believed what the church taught. And that was really influential to me, such that I actually opened my mind to the possibility of Christianity and Catholicism in particular being true. And I came home from World Youth Day as, someone who had really accepted the reality of God and Jesus Christ and the truth of the Catholic Church. So I know it's easy to be cynical about these things, and maybe there's good reason, to be cynical about these things, but I would also say don't write it off completely because the Lord writes straight with crooked lines.
Cool. I think also the Eucharistic, the way the Eucharist was, at least in my opinion, you can disagree. My opinion is that from the pictures I've seen, the way the Eucharist was distributed is there's no excuse for that. We should just...
You mean because they were in like plastic bowls?
The plastic bowls with the saran wrap on it. Yeah,
there's no way you create a Eucharistic revival without yourself showing reverence to the Eucharist. It's kind of like parents who want their children to take the faith seriously when they actually don't. They just give lip service to it. And I would say that the way certain liturgies are celebrated, it shows us that there's really nothing special about this, and that's not a way to communicate the faith at all.
Yeah, no, I think that at least is a full... There are other parts of it that might be good, but that is an inexcusable mistake that they made.
And I don't know what they is, right? Like, I don't, like, when we're seeing
I don't know who
photos
decided
and
that
videos,
or like whatever committee decided it, but whoever did, that's inexcusable.
We could be seeing something from the top down, like this is what World Youth Day has issued, these different, it could be a particular parish from a particular country. So I don't want to speak to the particulars because I don't know enough. But but I grant your point too. Sam says, "Hi Matt, have you read Brideshead Revisited? Have you have an opinion on the close male relationships portrayed? So is that sort of intimacy lost, even good?" So I haven't read it. I don't want to read any other book except the Brothers Karamazov and Lord of the Rings until I'm dead. So I don't really want to read this book. I'm not interested in reading any book that you tell me to read. I don't care how good it is. But I have heard that people say this is a very excellent book. But I do understand that there's maybe some kind of homosexual things taking place in
I have no idea. I haven't read
the book. So I can't speak to that book specifically, but I would say that, I think like the proliferation and celebration of homosexuality is, in a way, at least in part, a war on friendship. Because if you live in a society where that sort of thing isn't glamorized, then presumably men can express their love for one another in a way that isn't suspicious. But as soon as you do start to celebrate that and to say that this is far more prevalent than you could possibly think, then men start to get really weary about the way in which they share their love and affection for each other. And I think that is a negative thing. I think men should share their love for each other in a way that both feel comfortable with, and without the suspicion that if I tell you, I love you, like you mean a lot to me and I would like to be your friend until one of us is dead. That's a beautiful thing. And so I would like to see more affection among men, not less.
Wow, people are still sending us super chats.
This is very kind. A cheaper way to send a super chat is to go to mattfradd.locals.com and become an annual supporter. You get a bunch of free things in return, including a Pints with Aquinas beer stein, a Flannery O'Connor course that we're releasing right now. Ed Fazer just did a course. Yeah, we got a ton of stuff. Because when you give a super chat over here, I think YouTube takes like 30%. So I'm so grateful for your super chats, but if you care and you want to support us, mattfradd.locals.com would be where I'd point you.
Not that people who super chat don't care.
We love you. We know you do care.
If you care that YouTube takes a cut, then we get more percentage from locals. Sorry.
Hey guys, in what way is your family participating in the Eucharistic Revival? Probably by taking my children to Mass and teaching them to love the Eucharist. That's really all I've got planned.
I'm single, so.
What are you doing?
No, that was a joke I was making. How are your families?
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. What are you doing? Nothing?
I mean, I don't have a family, so.
Thank you for your content. Your videos have helped me in my walk and understanding from a fellow Protestant who prays the rosary. Bless you. It's lovely to have you. And I say it all the time, but I love my Protestant brothers and sisters. I know we have disagreements, but we can all also learn from each other.
You can't pray the rosary and not end up Catholic eventually.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah,
I think she's
going to get you. You let her in.
Good luck.
She's coming.
All right. Well,
do we have any more locals?
I'll check if we have another locals, but I want to let people know about something that I really think is quite cool. Y'all have seen Scott Hahn on the show. You've seen me interview Dr. Bergsma. These are like really not just brilliant Bible scholars, but they're able to convey their love for Scripture and what they've learned about Scripture in a way that knuckleheads like me can understand. And so St. Paul Center is the platform that Scott Hahn started. They've started this new digital platform to help people better understand and love the Bible. And so if you go to stpaulcenter.com/Matt and sign up there, you can have 2 weeks for free. So you can try out all of the courses they've recorded. And these are really well scripted, very well produced courses. They're not just, little laptop lid interviews or Zoom. And it's nothing like that. It's really, really well done. As somebody who, I do waste time on YouTube, and it's like, gosh, I should use my time better. How could I do that? Here's one way to do that. So please check them out, stpaulcenter.com/Matt. When you sign up there, you get 2 weeks for free. I'm not even saying you don't even have to stay for 3 weeks if you don't want to. Just cancel it if you don't think it's worth your time. But, we're so quick to give our money to Hulu and Peacock and Netflix. And I just think that, and maybe that's fine, maybe there's a place for that. But I think there are also amazing Catholic companies that are trying to teach the Word of God. And you want to love the Word of God, even if you don't currently. So give it a shot. stpaulcenter.com/Matt. We'll put a link in the description below.
Real quick, this guy, the special needs professor, is what I'll say, because his username is not that.
Okay.
But I don't want to get banned. Has now given $35 in super chats. So special thanks to you, friend. We appreciate that.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get another question here. Molly says, jumping on a little late, odd question. Do you have resources for how young adults, young families can start building community? For example, monthly meals, outings together, etc. So one thing we did, and I would recommend you do, is do a monthly potluck. If you can do it, maybe do a weekly potluck, but start with a monthly potluck. And what I mean by that is tell all of your friends to show up at 5 p.m. on a Friday night, maybe it's the first Friday or first Saturday every month, and tell them to bring something to share. And that's it. And the only prayer that you do during that time is grace. And then you just spend time together and you hang out and you chat. And that way everyone starts to realize that the first Friday or first Saturday of every month, I'm going to go to Molly's house or whoever, and we're going to hang out. And I'm going to bring a bottle of wine, I'm going to bring a salad, I'm going to bring something, pizza, and we'll all share. We did that when we lived in Atlanta, and it was really fun. And I'm really glad we did it. And I think keeping things consistent is helpful as well. If you say something like, I'm going to try to do something once a month, and then it's this day, this month, this day, the next month, and then you don't do it the next month, it kind of gets confusing to people. But if people learn that like the first Saturday of every month at 5 p.m., Molly has this thing, then they don't even call to check in if you're having that thing anymore. They just show up. And I think that's really beautiful. You have an example? Or
actually, something I do actively that's like that. So it's mostly single people or people without kids, but my friends and I, every Tuesday after dinner, so we start at 7, and we just bring snacks and drinks, and we sit around and chat, and then we pray the rosary, and then we normally watch some like TV show, or we watch, listen to some piece of music together, but we just sit around and chat, we share snacks. So even if like your friend group is poor college students, just pick a day of the week or a night of the week that like doesn't even have to be dinner together. Just like you can hang out and make it consistent. That way you have built into your life shared time with fellow Christians.
For the Realies, who's a local supporter, just said, I concur, locals is better. And then he says, parentheses, definitely not a paid actor. But yeah, Locals is a really amazing community of people. If you guys are interested in joining an online Catholic community, mattfradd.locals.com. I do morning streams, and you don't even have to be a supporter financially to watch those. You just have to sign up like you would have to sign up on any other social platform. So please follow us there, mattfradd.locals.com. There's a lot of cool things that happen, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Thursday, any final words?
Nope.
God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that bell button, because once we hit 400,000 subscribers, Thursday is going to get a trophy.
Have a great day, guys.